Social media buzz, y'all. So I want to thank everybody that's been rocking with the buzz, and I want to send my prayers and my condolences out to the family. So, y'all, this is going to be a lengthy buzz. Let's get into it. So, for all those who want to know how I gather my information, this is how you start. Hey, Google, can you tell me what happened to Tamara Greene in Detroit?
According to Fox 2 Detroit, Tamara Greene went by Strawberry during her time as an exotic dancer. She was shot and killed in 2003 months after she performed at a rumored, but never proven, Manoogian Mansion party in Detroit. Former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick was allegedly there, as he had been elected the previous year.
So, y'all, apparently the murder still has been unsolved decades later, and Tamara Greene's daughter is speaking up for justice. At the time, y'all, she was 27 years old. She left behind 3 children. So family members are saying that Tamara Greene was pulling up to a curve on Roseline Street, dropping off her boyfriend, and an unidentified man in a white Chevrolet Blazer pulled around the corner and began shooting.
My mom was a very popular stripper in the early 2000s, and as you can imagine, that industry, you meet a lot of powerful, rich, famous people. My mom ended up having an affair with the mayor of the city, who was married at the time. So yeah, things got messy, and the mayor of Detroit's wife actually assaulted my mother. Instead of paying my mother hush money, the mayor decided to pay off cops in the city to murder my mother. There's a lot of key points to my mother's story, but to make things a little shorter, she was murdered in a drive-by with police-issued guns. I worked in the industry myself, so I've met people who knew my mother, seen her around the mayor, and they do not want any parts of my mother's case. So to this day, it's an unsolved murder. There has been many podcasts, news channels reporting on my mother's story, a book written, a play produced, but after so many years of trying to fight for justice, I have been a standing lone wolf, and I've grown very tired. So the former mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick, actually ended up going to prison for various other things after reports of my mother's death. Some people think he's great. Some people think he's a terrible, terrible man. But thanks to Donald Trump being his longtime friend in that industry, he pardoned him a few years ago. So now the man responsible for my mother's murder is just living his happily ever after life.
So I looked a little harder, y'all, to see if the former mayor was a suspect or did they have a suspect. And that's what I found.
It is perhaps the most notorious unsolved murder in Detroit. Who killed stripper Tamara Greene?
The victim's family thought they had reason to finally celebrate some closure when Detroit Police Chief Ella Bully Cummings, in a hastily called press conference, said the department had identified a suspect. Strawberry, as the exotic dancer was known, had been killed in a feud between rival drug dealers and was not murdered in a scenario related to the hot topic rumor of Greene dancing at the never-proven Manoogian Mansion party, being injured in an attack by Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick's wife Carlita, and months later gunned down because the strippers sought hush money from the Kilpatricks. The lead cold case police detective in the case is certain the killing had no ties to the mayor.
The fact is, I uncovered nothing regarding Kwame Kilpatrick's involvement in this murder.
Now retired Detroit Police Homicide Detective Mike Carlisle later confirmed that his 18 months of investigation had concluded Darrett Little D. King was the most likely suspect, that the April 30th, 2003 drive-by shooting, the attack on Strawberry's car, left her as collateral damage and not the intended target. It was an attempted assassination of the passenger, a drug dealer named Eric Mitchell. Now, from state prison behind the walls of the Macomb Correctional Facility in New Haven, Darrett King speaks of the accusation for the first time and insists he didn't do it. You say that you had nothing to do with her death.
Exactly. I took lie detector tests. The victim said I didn't do it. I mean, what else could you ask for?
The victim said you didn't do it.
Yeah.
That is the survivor.
Yeah.
Indeed, the survivor was Eric Mitchell, who was shot 5 times, while the driver, Tamara Greene, was shot 3 times. She was behind the wheel, closest to the street and the drive-by vehicle. Carlisle says just how many times bullets struck the victims could be an indication that the shooter was after Mitchell and that Greene was simply in the line of fire. According to police, Mitchell is King's former partner in the drug business. Are you surprised that they named you publicly, but they haven't come to you with charges?
Yeah, of course. That's crazy. It tore my life to pieces with that. My family, kids, everything.
King is now serving 14 to 25 years in state prison for attempted murder and other charges not related to the Greene case. But for several reasons, Carlisle believes he should be charged in Greene's murder. Among the elements of an arrest warrant, the white SUV that was the drive-by vehicle that night.
Little D's wife was in possession of a white Lincoln Navigator. That she affirmed in a statement also. All right, that by itself doesn't mean a lot.
But it's one item on a list of circumstantial evidence. The fact that King is left-handed, as was the shooter, according to witnesses. The fact that officers, first at the scene, said Mitchell told them Little D was the person that he was having problems with. And then there's the statement made by a big-time drug kingpin named Tommy Hodges, who claims Little D admitted to him he was responsible for the drive-by.
And Tommy Hodges gave me a statement about Little D approaching him and told him what had occurred that night. Now, one of the things Tommy Hodges asked Little D was, well, what about the old girl? And the only thing Little D told him, she was in the way.
Everything that Carlisle ever did pertaining to me is a dead end and it's made up everything. If you look at the statements, you look at the evidence, Carlisle is just a crooked cop.
So the fact that I brought up this blue Chevrolet Blazer is because don't nobody know the real make and model of who approached Tamara Greene that night, unfortunately. So y'all, let's catch up on the former mayor and why would this young lady think he had something to do with this. So y'all, Kilpatrick was presenting himself as a family man and he said he didn't whore around on his wife, but he got caught with Christine Beatty. We're going to hear from her at the end. Now, he also had charges against him, racketeering, all kind of stuff, and he was supposed to serve 28 years in prison, but he only served 7. The former mayor was sentenced for the infidelity, $100,000 restitution, 120 days in jail, and he had to resign as mayor from the office.
Kwame is out now. He has a new job. He has a new family. How do you compare with what has happened to him with what's happened with you? Or can you compare?
Oh, I don't compare at all. His life is his life. My life is mine. I don't compare it in the least.
So do you think there was no double standard in how Kwame was perceived after what happened 15 years ago and how you're perceived?
Oh, sure. I think in this country, we always have the double standard for women and men. If I wasn't a black woman, if I wasn't a woman, we wouldn't be talking about the same thing 15 years later. Nobody would. But if there's anything to do with a relationship, a sexual affair or relationship, women always get the brunt of it, right? It's the opportunity to, again, reintroduce yourself and reinvent yourself is harder for women because we continue to stay pegged in that one hole. So when people see you and they go, oh, I know you, you're Kwame's girl. Nope, my name is Christine Beatty. How are you? I'm nobody's girl. I'm Christine.
So you see, apparently him and Carletta could not reconcile with TD Jakes' teaching, and they divorced in 2018. He recently got married and moved on with his life. I'm hoping that Ashley Jackson get justice in her case.